Hi, guys. Welcome to the fifth episode of Passion for Success. And today we have the honor of speaking to Christie Pearce Rampone, a two-time World Cup champion, 3 Olympic gold medals, 1 silver. And were you 40 or 41 when you retired, Christie?
40, well, for the national team, 40, but then I played another year pro.
And 311 caps, you guys. The second most capped player in history. And you also just wrote your first book, Be All In. You're a mom to Riley and Reese.
Mm-hmm.
And you were recently married, so congratulations.
Thank
Just wanted
you.
to see what you've been up to recently.
Yeah, it's been obviously crazy times, but just adjusting and changing our routine over here in New Jersey. From youth sports, from coaching, I haven't been coaching on the field as much. My oldest daughter, Riley's in high school now, and she's in the hybrid system, as well as my younger daughter, Reese. She's in 5th grade now, crazy to think that, and she's actually going full time. So we're just adjusting and adapting to the pandemic, but staying healthy and positive through this whole process.
Yeah, it is crazy times, but it's nice to hear that the girls are doing well and you guys are too. It's nice to have like a routine again.
Yeah.
So I always start off by asking all players what their parents were like as far as their role from a young age for you for playing sports.
Yeah, my parents were great. My dad worked 3 jobs, so he didn't actually get to see as many of my games. But my mom was always there for me and making sure I got to practice on time and making sure I got to the games on time. So they were a big part of my success in the fact that they didn't push me too much. And I'm glad for that because I think I put a lot of pressure on myself because that's where I expressed myself on the field. I was very confident on the field. I didn't have a lot of confidence off the field. I was very shy and quiet and had a hard time socializing with friends and interacting with friends. So the sports kind of allowed me to be myself. I think my dad played a huge part in my success because he was a college athlete. He played baseball in college. So he was just very mindful of discussing game strategies and giving me constructive criticism after games when I wanted to hear it. So usually it was at dinner time, he'd always tell me like maybe 3 positive, 3 negatives he either got from my mom or if he was able to make the game. But it was just nice to be able to reflect and have a conversation rather than kind of an argument or maybe the timing was bad, but I thought it was perfect timing to kind of go over the game after the fact. But they were very supportive throughout my process.
That's huge. And we can't wait to ask you some more questions about the reason why you wrote the book that you did. You were highly recruited to go play in college, but you were also a 2-sport athlete. How much of that played a factor into your decision to go to Monmouth?
Yeah, it was a tough decision because I was playing multiple sports growing up. I played field hockey, basketball, and soccer. And I was fortunate enough to get scholarship offers in all 3. However, because my dad was working 3 jobs and we didn't come from a huge income, I was on my own to pay for college. So basketball offered the biggest scholarship, which was a full ride. And it was at Monmouth University and it was close to home. So then I was able to play soccer. I was a walk-on the soccer team. So both coaches kind of got together and allowed me to do both. So that was pretty much why I chose to play at Monmouth, to be able to play at a high level, Division I, and able to play 2 sports and have it paid for. So all my hard work paid off in the end. I was able to play at a high level and go for free.
There's a lot of big time athletes that have played at the highest level that have come from Monmouth. So you definitely made the right decision. I love the story of your first national team camp. Please share with us what that was like for you.
Yes, going to my first camp was an adventure because it was the first time I was on an airplane alone. The first time that I was leaving home and going cross country. So as my mom always prepared me, be ready for anything. So the big joke was I brought laundry detergent. I brought because I just didn't know what to expect. So I didn't want to be basically in a place where I had no supplies or I wasn't prepared for anything. So I was ready for it all. So I packed my huge suitcase and flew to California to Chula Vista Olympic Training Center and to my surprise, I didn't realize that we were going to get our own gear, and really all I needed was a few little things to get me through the days. But yeah, it was quite embarrassing. So I shoved my big suitcase under my bed after Mia Hamm actually like looked over and was like, "What did you bring?" But again, I was prepared for, you know, the unknown, whatever. But I realized that I was in the big time, and you actually were given cleats and given your uniform and apparel throughout the camp. So I was very grateful for that.
That's an amazing story. Sorry, I had to bring it up. It still makes me giggle. So was there a instance in your career that you can think back on that was kind of like a defining moment for you or a turning point in your career?
Yeah, I think it was that first week that I was at camp with the national team. And as I said before, I was a multiple sport athlete, and, you know, stepping onto the field with a team that just won the gold medal in 96, and I joined the team in 97. I'll never forget a moment I had on the field against Brandy Chastain. We were competing, and she was on the opposing team, and we were doing the small-sided game, and we kind of got after it, like in the corner. And, you know, at the end, I was just thinking, oh no, she is not going to like me. She's going to make sure I'm not on this team, because, you know, we were just competing. And at the end of the practice, she came over to me and she was like, "That's how you compete. That's how you play. This is going to keep you here on this team." And I'll never forget that moment, because I'm like, these are the girls I want to surround myself with. I want to be on this team. Like, we're all in it for the same reason. We all have the same common goal. And at that moment, I think soccer chose me, you know, and I really started to focus and commit myself to just being the best soccer player I could be for the US.
I love that, Piercy. Soccer chose me. So important. One thing that most people might not be aware of is the fact that you had Lyme's.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know at what point you realized that within your playing career, but how did that affect you then? And obviously, how is it affecting you now?
Yeah, that was a big change in my life. I found out a little bit later, after having Reese, and it was right before we were going off to China, and I just wasn't feeling right. And I was getting run down a little bit easier. I was fatiguing easier. I just couldn't sleep. So I got some blood work, and I found that I have Lyme disease, and I just changed my mindset to realize, you know, some days are going to be good and some days are going to be bad, but I still have to persevere through it. And, you know, it may look a little different, you know, and that's okay. And I just made sure that each and every day I just showed up and tried to be the best person I could be, and not let that defeat me, you know, realizing, you know, today's not gonna be a good day, but I'm still going after it.
I mean, obviously, Michelle Akers had to go through something a little bit similar. I don't know if you drew any inspiration from that, but both you and Shannon Box, you know,
Absolutely.
you're unbelievable players, and you at least had someone else that was kind of going through something similar, even though hers was lupus. So just talk about maybe how they were able to inspire you a little bit more as well.
Absolutely. I think the great thing about team sports is the relationships you build with your teammates. And one of my closest friends was Shannon Box, and we were kind of going through a similar situation of having that fatigue and not feeling well. And we just relied on each other in those times. You know, when we were training away from the team, knowing when it was a good day to push and when we were like not feeling so great, and when to like taper off. But even during national team practices or games, when I knew that she was hurting, I made her a better player by just communicating with her, encouraging her, talking to her, and she did the same back. So you can rely on somebody and trust that they, you know, will keep it amongst each other, and just go with it, you know, because teammates are there for a reason, to support you through the good and the bad.
Pierce, I know it's hard when you're in it. You don't want to think about it, but now that you've been away from the game a little bit, you're one of the most capped and decorated players in history. What do you think the key to your success was? Or there might be a couple things.
I think just that mindset to keep always being open to willing to learn and improve, you know, because the game is consistently changing. The environment is changing. Your role changes throughout that time period. So just being in it for the right reasons, you know, being present in the moment and trying to always get better, whether that's on the field or if your roles change a little bit off the field. But I think, you know, having that growth mindset to continue to push forward and change with the style of play and the game.
You had a lot of highlights, so this might be tough, but I want to know, what was your favorite national team memory?
I think winning the gold medal for me in 2008 with a million different roles, as a mother, a captain of the team, and just having just a good base of teammates. And, as we always remember, in 2008, we didn't do so well in that first game. We lost that first game, which a lot of people probably don't remember. And just how the team grew and got better throughout that tournament. That final whistle in 2008, I think, was that highlight moment for me, that I was able to juggle so many jobs and still really enjoy it, embrace it with my teammates.
Yeah, it's so funny because I've heard Ange say that, I've heard Boxy say that, and it's obviously mine as well. So it's kind of, I was curious to see what you were gonna
That
say.
was the crew, the
Yeah,
tight knit
that,
all of
that
us.
was awesome. If you could go back and change one thing
Mm-hmm.
about your playing that you feel like would have helped you in the field, what would it have been?
I think just enjoying it a little bit more. I think when you're away from it and now that I'm looking back, I think a lot of times I was a little bit too stressed. I put too much pressure on myself, to be perfect, and realizing that you can't be perfect in sports, and striving for that excellence. So when I look back, I just wish I would have embraced it and enjoyed it a little bit more.
I'm sure we would all say that, but there's a reason why you're as successful as you are, because you're so focused and so determined. So, what has kind of helped you in the past be an amazing leader?
I think, and what I learned is, like, you learn from your mistakes, especially in that leadership role, because when you're thrown into a leadership role, it's new for you, and you just have to embrace it and communicate, and have that clear communication with your teammates, your coaches, and just know that you're there for a purpose, and that's to make each and every one around you better. And you have to really put the team before yourself. And for me, it was, like I said earlier, that I was this shy, quiet, more lead by example person, but realize your voice does matter. And for me, when I spoke, people listened. So I realized it didn't matter how much I spoke. It was just about when I spoke, and knowing that timing and tone is crucial in being a leader.
I think that's really important advice, Piercy. Obviously there's been a lot that you have achieved. I think the fact that you also had Lyme's, that you also weren't the most vocal and were able to find a way to still lead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to throw this out here because I'm now a mom, and I could not imagine having to juggle two kids and to also perform and to be a leader on top of those things. You always made it look really easy. So I want to know what was the hardest part for you?
I think it was those sleepless nights and being able to, like, open up my hotel room door and walk out like I slept great, and it's just kind of that fake it till you make it. Like, I don't want everybody knowing all of what was going on behind the scenes and how hard it was at times. I just wanted to make sure that my energy was good when I walked down that hallway and onto the field. So I think that was the toughest thing, to not really, like, show the true side of what was really going on. I wanted to make it look easier than it was, so that I didn't have an excuse of maybe why I was fatigued, or maybe if I had a bad game, I didn't want it to be an excuse of my children. I wanted to make sure that I was out there and present, and putting my best foot forward, even though some days I got very little sleep, or the girls just didn't adjust to the time zone, but that was part of traveling and being a mom.
You're a rock star. I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, I'm even more amazed by you now that I have my own kids. I just wanted to say that. And as far as from a leadership standpoint, I always admired you because you always kept issues private and you never wavered. And I can honestly say that I never saw you break down or even get angry. So what was your secret?
Just trusting the process, just knowing that, like, I needed to be there for my teammates and be that shoulder for them. And my door was always open. And in order to have them respect me as a captain, they needed to trust me. And yes, I was honest with them behind closed doors, but they knew that they can come to me and their names wouldn't be used if I had to face a coach and tell them that there's issues going on. Everything was kept behind the scenes, and that's what keeps a team connected. You want to keep it in the bubble. You want to keep it in the, for say in the locker room. And I think that's part of it. I was just a really good listener. I was always watching and observing and knowing when my teammates lacked confidence or when they needed that just a little extra help along the way. And that's part of my role. Like, I think there's no one size fits all method to being a captain and being a leader. There's all different styles. And I think if you understand that, it doesn't have to look the same for each individual leadership. And I had a different style, and I embraced it, and I just took my strengths and rolled with it.
Christie, you're an amazing leader, and we are also lucky to have played underneath you. I think now we see you as a mom, but you're also becoming this author, and obviously Be All In. It's out right now, and I just want to kind of figure out, like, what was the determining factor as to why you wanted to write this book?
Yeah, so when I retired, I've been coaching for the last 20 years in the youth program, and I think I was a little bit more aware of the climate of youth sports and going through it and experiencing at the highest level, and then also coaching at the youth level. I wanted to give back. And the best way to give back was to write it down on paper and hopefully educate and help parents and coaches with just guidelines of, how to help their child have a better journey through sport. And, Be All In was the title of it because a lot of speaking engagements I talk about, and we just talked about this earlier, I wasn't as present as I would have liked to have been in everything I've done. So Be All In just means being present in the moment, whether that's on the field, whether that's with your family, whether that's in school, you're there and just live in that moment. And along the way, there's also guidelines to have a better relationship with your child through sports, through teaching them that, there's so many lessons you can learn through sports that will help them in their next chapter. Because who knows when sports is going to end? Some of us are blessed to play at the Olympic level. Some it ends at college, some it's at high school. So it just hopefully that it'll bring families together to enjoy sports.
Well, I think you're the perfect person to write this book. So what's your biggest piece of advice to parents that, whose kids are just not getting into sports?
Yeah, I think it's just putting them in the right environment to be successful. It's a process, and you have to trust that process from the moment you put your child into sports to the end. Because I truly believe the whole process of sports is you train for fun, you train to learn, then you train to compete, and that final piece is train to win. And if we can get that mindset that winning is the last piece and it's not the beginning piece, there's a lot that you can learn through sports, and you're going to have to be comfortable with that uncomfortable. It is not easy to watch your child make mistakes, come off the field sad and upset, but those are learning lessons that you can teach your child just through communicating and telling them it's a process. You're not going to be like the players that you see on TV overnight. Like, you're going to have some ups and downs, and it's an emotional roller coaster at times, but it can be so rewarding, and everybody's path to success looks different.
I just started coaching Blake's soccer team, and every single weekend I kind of observe new things. And so, as far as like scoring, what would your advice be to parents as far as they put so much emphasis on scoring? What would your words of wisdom be?
Yes, scoring, and like we say, success. Like, what is success? Just scoring and winning games? Like, you have to alter your message of success, and that is, what is your takeaway from the game, and what did you learn, especially at a young age, right? If it's not about the scoreboard, yes, you want your kid to be successful, but you have to teach your kid success could be, making him completing one pass at a rec level, or just encouraging them to step on the field. A lot of kids are scared to even get on the field, and it's knowing and being aware of your own individual child and what their confidence level is at that time, and trying to come up with little techniques to talk to them about what success for them is in that game, and not to always focus on the wins and the losses.
I love this book already, and I can't wait to get mine. So where can we buy it? Show it to us again, by the way.
So there it is. Be All In, and you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, it's at Target, Walmart. I mean, a lot of it's online right now, obviously through the pandemic, but it's just guidelines, and it goes over, performance anxiety, confidence, the car ride there to practice, the car ride home, and just different techniques that you can help your child be the best version of themselves. And that's what's important. And, they're, writing their own script and not you writing the script for them.
And Piercy, last question for you. What's next for you?
I don't know. That's the big question. I'm just finished up this book. Now it's going to be kind of just self-reflecting and figuring out, I'm on the field a lot coaching. I'd love to maybe write a second book geared more towards the athlete, that like you are good enough and, all the reasons why. So this one was more about, towards the coaches and the parents. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what challenges are ahead for myself and, kind of keep going after it.
That's awesome. Well, we thank you so much for your time. We know how busy you are, especially with 2 kids home and the virtual schooling and coaching and just everything. And the fact that you are out promoting this book, which is so necessary in this world. We thank you for that and for your time and for being an amazing leader and teammate and person. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mitzi, for having me.
You're the best.
Everybody joining.